Welcome, listeners. Today, we're exploring how simplifying English can make it easier for everyone to speak and integrate into daily life. Mrs. Adele, why do you believe simpler English is so powerful for learners?
Thanks, Mr. Luca. Simplified English removes unnecessary complexity, making it much less intimidating for beginners. Just as children learn language through short, clear sentences, adults benefit from the same approach when starting out.
That's an interesting comparison. Would you say simplifying English actually helps people use it more confidently, not just understand it?
Absolutely. When people start with manageable sentences, they gain confidence quickly. A study by Cambridge University found that learners using short, simple phrases were 30% more likely to engage in regular conversation practice.
Transitioning from that idea, let's discuss practical ways to start. How can small sentences become stepping stones for better English, Adele?
Small sentences act like training wheels on a bike. Phrases such as, "How are you?" or "I need water" are easy to remember and use. Gradually, learners can build longer sentences as their comfort grows.
Are there specific sentence structures you recommend for daily practice?
Yes, begin with subject-verb-object, like "I eat breakfast." Once that feels natural, add details. I eat breakfast every morning. This layering helps learners make progress without feeling overwhelmed.
Now, let's move to daily routines. What are some effective strategies for weaving English into everyday activities?
One proven method is labeling household items in English stick notes on door, mirror, or table. In addition, narrate what you do, such as, "I am brushing my teeth." These habits reinforce vocabulary in context.
That's practical advice. Does this approach work for both children and adults?
Definitely. Real-world application is key at any age. The more you connect English to your personal environment, the faster you internalize and remember new words.
A common obstacle is the fear of making mistakes. How can learners overcome this hurdle and speak more freely in English?
Mistakes are natural and necessary for growth, much like learning to ride a bike means a few falls. In fact, research from the British Council shows that learners who speak without fear improve twice as fast as those who hesitate.
Interesting. Are there supportive environments or techniques you recommend to reduce anxiety?
Practicing with friends, joining language groups, or even talking to oneself in the mirror can help. The goal is to make speaking English a low-pressure, enjoyable part of daily life.
Let's transition into the role of technology. How can apps and digital tools support daily English practice?
Language apps like Duolingo or HelloTalk offer bite-sized lessons and real-time conversation partners. These platforms gamify learning, making it fun and interactive, which boosts motivation and habit formation.
Are there any potential drawbacks to relying on technology for language learning?
While apps are great for vocabulary and structure, they can't fully replace real human interaction. I suggest combining tech with daily speaking, perhaps by recording your voice or joining online discussion forums.
Expanding further, how effective is role-playing in building practical English skills?
Role-playing simulates real-life situations, like ordering food or asking for directions, allowing learners to practice relevant phrases. It's like rehearsing before a play. Confidence increases as scenarios become familiar.
Do you have a favorite scenario to recommend for beginners?
Grocery shopping is a classic. Practice sentences like, "Where is the milk?" or "How much does this cost?" These are universally useful and help bridge the gap between theory and practice.
Speaking of bridging gaps, how can learners create an English-speaking environment at home to maximize exposure?
Immerse yourself by watching English shows, listening to music, or reading simple storybooks aloud. Encourage family members to use English during meals or playtime, turning the home into a mini language lab.
Can these changes make a measurable difference in fluency?
Absolutely! Studies show that learners who regularly hear and use English at home progress up to 40% faster compared to those who limit practice to formal lessons.
Progress tracking is essential. How should learners measure their improvement and maintain motivation?
Keep a daily journal in English, even just a few lines. Recording short voice memos is another great tool. Regularly reviewing these entries lets you see growth over weeks, which is highly motivating.
What about setting goals? Can that help?
Set achievable milestones, like mastering 10 new phrases a week. Celebrate small wins. Consistency is more impactful than perfection and keeps enthusiasm high throughout the journey.
Now, let's explore how to gradually incorporate English into daily behavior. What's the best approach to make this transition smooth?
Start with one English activity per day, like greeting the family in English every morning. Gradually expand. Order your coffee in English or use it during exercise routines. Small, consistent steps build lasting habits.
Is there a risk of forgetting one's native language in this process?
Not at all. Bilingualism strengthens cognitive skills overall. Instead of erasing your mother tongue, you're simply adding another tool to your communication toolkit.
As we conclude, how important is it to celebrate milestones and look back on progress in learning English?
Celebrating success reinforces positive behaviors. Whether it's holding a brief conversation or understanding a movie scene, each achievement boosts confidence. Over months, these small victories add up to remarkable fluency.
Any final advice for listeners eager to make English a seamless part of their lives?
Stay curious, be patient, and remember that every sentence spoken is a step forward. English isn't a destination, it's a journey you can enjoy every day. Start small, but start today.
Hello and a heartfelt welcome to all our listeners. I'm Adel and I'm genuinely grateful you've joined us today. Taking time from your busy schedule means a lot, and I promise today's episode will be worth every minute.
Thank you, Adel. I'm Luca, and it's truly wonderful to be here in your studio. Having this opportunity to talk, share stories, and connect with your audience brightens my day. I hope to offer insights and perhaps some valuable lessons from my own experiences.
That's exactly our goal, to create a space for meaningful stories that resonate. Before we dive in, could you share what motivates you to reflect on your past so openly?
Certainly, Adel. I believe personal stories can bridge gaps and inspire others. When you hear someone's journey, especially the struggles and milestones, it reminds you that progress is universal, regardless of background.
Storytelling has shaped human culture for centuries, from ancient campfires to modern podcasts. Luca, why do you think stories have such lasting impact on listeners, especially when shared personally?
Stories make abstract ideas tangible. For example, hearing about overcoming adversity is more relatable than just reading a statistic. A 2020 Harvard study showed that listeners retain 65% more information when it's delivered as a narrative versus raw data.
That's fascinating. So, as we transition, could you share a story from your own life that illustrates this power of narrative?
Absolutely. Let's journey back to my childhood, where resources were scarce but dreams were abundant. I hope this narrative helps others see that every challenge can be a stepping stone.
Let's set the scene. Growing up in a village with no electricity. How did that environment shape your approach to learning and perseverance, Luca?
Imagine nights lit only by oil lamps and the gentle hum of crickets. While most children played outside, I was hunched over borrowed books, determined to read even in dim light. It taught me creativity, like using mirrors to maximize lamplight or reciting lessons aloud to memorize better.
That's a vivid image. Did facing these limitations ever make you want to give up? Or did it fuel your ambition further?
There were moments of frustration, naturally, but the lack of resources made each small victory, like finishing a chapter, feel monumental. It's similar to athletes training without modern equipment, yet achieving greatness through sheer determination.
You mentioned traveling long distances to buy books. That's a level of determination many can't imagine. Can you walk us through one of those journeys and what kept you motivated?
Certainly. Sometimes I'd walk for hours to reach the nearest town with a bookstore. The anticipation of owning a new book outweighed fatigue or hunger. I saw each book as a key unlocking new world-san investment in my future.
It's inspiring how you viewed every obstacle as an opportunity rather than a setback. Did your family or community support your quest for education?
Support came in unexpected forms. While my family couldn't offer material help, their pride in my efforts encouraged me. Occasionally, neighbors would lend old textbooks or share stories about scholars who started with less. That sense of collective aspiration fueled me further.
Your journey from humble beginnings to becoming a scientist is remarkable. How did those early hardships shape your scientific mindset?
Great question. Science thrives on curiosity and resilience. My experiences taught me to question everything and persist despite setbacks, much like research, where failure is a step towards discovery. I learned to see every challenge as an experiment with valuable lessons.
That's an insightful analogy. In your view, does adversity build better scientists? Or is it possible to nurture scientific thinking in more comfortable environments as well?
Both have their place. Adversity can sharpen problem-solving skills, but supportive environments foster collaboration. The key is maintaining a curious, growth-oriented mindset, regardless of circumstances, a principle supported by studies in educational psychology.
You've highlighted the importance of mindset over material wealth. Can you expand on how resourcefulness sometimes outweighs resources when pursuing success?
Absolutely. Studies from Stanford show that people who develop creative problem-solving skills often out of necessity excel in unpredictable environments. For example, tech entrepreneurs from rural backgrounds often innovate solutions using limited tools, later applying those skills to build global businesses.
That's a compelling point. Are there any risks to romanticizing struggle, though?
Certainly, we must avoid glorifying hardship itself. The lesson is not to seek adversity, but to recognize its potential to foster resilience and adaptability. Ideally, society should provide opportunities for all, while also nurturing a mindset that embraces challenges constructively.
Transitioning to today's world where technology and comfort are ubiquitous, do you think we're losing some of the grit that adversity naturally develops?
It's a double-edged sword. Technology opens doors to information and efficiency, but studies show over-reliance can weaken attention span and perseverance. For instance, instant gratification from screens can deter deep, focused learning, something that hardship inadvertently cultivates.
How can we leverage modern tools while still fostering resilience in the next generation?
Intentional use is key. Educators can introduce controlled challenges like project-based learning that require effort and problem-solving. Parents can encourage offline hobbies, sports, or volunteering, all of which build patience and tenacity.
You've emphasized that health, both physical and mental, is vital to achievement. Can you elaborate on why holistic well-being underpins any form of success?
Certainly. Research from the WHO shows that regular exercise boosts cognitive function and emotional resilience. Neglecting health can undermine even the brightest minds. When I was young, walking miles for books kept me physically fit and mentally alert, a dual investment in my future.
That's a powerful reminder. In our fast-paced world, what are some practical steps listeners can take to maintain this balance?
Simple routines like daily walks, balanced meals, and mindful breathing go a long way. Prioritizing rest and meaningful social connections also strengthens mental health, making it easier to overcome obstacles in pursuit of any goal.
As we move toward wrapping up, let's focus on application. How can listeners apply these timeless lessons: resilience, curiosity, health in today's digital and often distracted environment?
Start by setting intentional goals. For instance, dedicate device-free time to read or reflect daily, echoing the focused effort I practiced as a child. Seek out mentors or communities online and offline who value perseverance. Use technology as a tool, not a crutch.
That's practical advice. Can you share an example of someone who succeeded by blending old-school grit with modern resources?
Certainly. Consider Malala Yousafzai, who combined unwavering determination with global platforms to champion girls' education, a testament to merging resilience with technology for positive change.
Luca, your journey and insights have been truly inspiring. As we close, what's one key takeaway you'd like every listener to remember from today's conversation?
No matter your starting point, a resilient mindset, a thirst for knowledge, and attention to well-being can transform obstacles into opportunities. Success is less about resources and more about resourcefulness and consistent effort.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom and experiences so generously. I hope our listeners feel empowered to write their own stories just as you have.
Thank you, Adil, and thank you to everyone listening. May your journeys be filled with learning, health, and the courage to persevere on, no matter what challenges arise.
Luca, you mentioned that as time passed, you became increasingly isolated, yet those who cared for you would find creative excuses to visit. Can you elaborate on how these interactions shaped your experience during that period?
Absolutely. Despite my growing solitude, my friends' efforts to reach out provided a lifeline. They'd come by, often under the pretense of sharing stories or distracting me. Their presence was a gentle reminder that I wasn't entirely alone, even if I preferred my books.
That's fascinating. Many studies suggest that social connection, even brief, can buffer against loneliness. Did you find that these encounters influenced your own emotional state, or did they highlight your differences?
Interestingly, their visits often underscored the emotional gap between us. They seemed happier, perhaps more carefree, but in reality, I sensed their underlying struggles. Our conversations revealed that appearances often deceive when it comes to well-being.
That contrast between outward happiness and inner turmoil is compelling. Why do you think your friends projected such positivity even while confiding their troubles to you?
It's a common psychological defense. People mask their pain to maintain a sense of normalcy or to avoid burdening others. Yet, when they sat with me, their stories of loss or loneliness surfaced, suggesting their lives were more troubled than mine.
It's almost as if sharing problems became a way to connect, even if it temporarily heightened sadness for both of you. Did these exchanges ever prompt you to question your own emotional strategies?
Certainly. While I found solace in books, my friends processed emotions through talk. It made me realize there isn't one right path to coping. Some seek knowledge, others, companionship. Both methods serve different emotional needs.
You describe making yourself happy by talking to your books. For listeners who might not relate, could you explain how literature became a substitute for social interaction?
Books provided a structured, reliable escape. Unlike unpredictable social dynamics, literature offered control and consistent comfort. I could immerse myself in stories, gaining wisdom and emotional regulation that real-life conversations sometimes lacked.
That's a powerful analogy, almost like having a silent mentor or friend. Research shows reading can lower stress by up to 68%. Did you ever feel books gave you insights your friends couldn't?
Absolutely. Books deepened my understanding of struggle and resilience. They prepared me to interpret life's challenges in ways that casual conversations rarely could. It's like training your mind through vicarious experience.
You mentioned friends often shared their hardships, sometimes making both of you sad. In psychology, this is called co-rumination. How did you balance being a confidant with protecting your own emotional health?
That's a relevant point. I tried to listen empathetically, but also set boundaries by returning to my books after heavy conversations. Over time, I realized that while mutual support is vital, overexposure to others' distress can amplify one's own sadness.
Did you ever encourage your friends to seek solace in reading or other solitary pursuits, or did you feel your paths were too different?
I often suggested it, but they rarely engaged. Our coping mechanisms diverge. Some people are drawn to introspection, others to social connection. Recognizing this difference helped me accept our emotional dynamics.
You note that over time, friends without an attachment to books grew distant, becoming absorbed in their own lives. Is this a natural progression as interests evolve, or did it feel more like a loss?
It felt bittersweet. While it's natural for people to drift as priorities shift, the lack of shared interests accelerated our separation. However, this solitude allowed me to focus inward and gain deeper life insights, which many of them overlooked.
Sociological studies suggest that shared passions are key to long-term friendships. Would you say your pursuit of knowledge set you on a fundamentally different trajectory?
Yes, definitely. My immersion in learning gave me tools to interpret struggle and meaning, whereas my friends remained focused on external pursuits. This divergence shaped our respective understandings of life's complexity.
You observed that your friends prioritize physical health, exercising regularly, while you focused on intellectual growth. How do you view the relationship between physical well-being and deeper life understanding?
Maintaining physical health is essential, but it's only one dimension of a fulfilling life. True understanding comes from integrating mental and emotional development. My friends were fit, yet often struggled with existential questions I explored through study.
It's interesting, Harvard's 80-year study of adult development found that emotional intelligence and purpose predict life satisfaction more than physical fitness alone. Do you think this is overlooked in modern culture?
Absolutely. Society often equates health with physical appearance, neglecting the value of introspection and emotional mastery. Balancing both is crucial for holistic well-being.
You contrast your self-control with your friend's impulsivity, saying you could direct your senses at will. Can you elaborate on how you cultivated such discipline and why it matters?
Through mindful practices and focused reading, I learned to regulate my desires and impulses. This self-mastery allowed me to experience life intentionally, rather than reacting to every fleeting emotion or distraction, a skill increasingly rare today.
It reminds me of modern mindfulness programs, which show improved attention and emotional regulation. Would you say this ability helped you navigate challenges more effectively than your peers?
Without a doubt, when faced with adversity, my controlled mindset enabled calm reflection and thoughtful action, while others sometimes acted rashly. Self-discipline is like having a compass in turbulent waters.
You mentioned trying to share your insights on life with friends, yet they often made excuses to leave. Why do you think people resist such introspective conversations?
Self-examination can be uncomfortable, especially if it challenges existing beliefs or habits. Many prefer the familiarity of routine over the uncertainty of change. I tried to plant seeds of understanding, hoping they'd reflect later.
Did you ever find strategies that made these lessons more accessible or appealing to them?
Sometimes, sharing relatable stories or using analogies helped. For example, comparing self-mastery to training a muscle made the concept more tangible. But ultimately, personal readiness determines openness to growth.
Adele, you encourage listeners to apply these lessons and observe personal change. What practical steps would you recommend for someone beginning this journey of self-reflection?
Start small, set aside 10 minutes daily for reading or journaling. Track your emotions and reactions, noticing patterns. Over time, this builds self-awareness. Encourage feedback from trusted friends to foster accountability and motivation.
That's actionable advice. Research shows even brief periods of mindfulness or self-reflection can enhance well-being within weeks. How should listeners evaluate progress?
Monitor shifts in mood, focus, and resilience. If you find yourself calmer during stress or more attuned to your needs, that's meaningful progress. Share your experiences with us. Collective reflection deepens learning for everyone.
As we conclude, what role does community feedback play in sustaining personal growth? How can listeners support each other in this transformative process?
A supportive community offers encouragement, accountability, and perspective. Sharing successes and setbacks normalizes the journey, making it less isolating. We invite listeners to submit feedback, fostering a cycle of collective inspiration and improvement.
That's a wonderful call to action. Just as you benefited from both solitude and companionship, our audience can find balance by engaging with us and each other. Thank you, Luca, for your profound insights today.
Thank you for having me. I hope everyone takes these ideas to heart, experiments with them, and shares their outcomes. Together, we can all move forward towards deeper understanding and fulfillment.
Welcome back, everyone, to our second episode where we dive deeper into Mr. Luca's journey. Luca, last time you spoke about your struggles and hard work. Can you elaborate on how facing challenges shaped your growth and what lessons young listeners can draw from your experiences?
Thank you, Adel. Struggle, to me, is like the friction that sparks a fire. When I faced setbacks, it forced me to look within, adapt, and grow stronger. Studies show that individuals who overcome adversity develop higher resilience, like the 2017 APA survey, noting 77% of people who faced hardship reported increased personal strength.
That's fascinating, Luca. Many see struggle as something to avoid, yet you frame it as essential. Could you give a concrete example from your life where enduring hardship led to unexpected growth or a new skill?
Certainly. During my early research years, I encountered repeated failures in my experiments. Each failure felt like a closed door, but as Thomas Edison once said, I have not failed. I've just found 0 ways that won't work. Eventually, those setbacks taught me innovative problem-solving techniques I still use today.
So, embracing struggle can actually become a catalyst for innovation and resilience. As we move forward, let's discuss how you transform these challenges into actionable solutions. Luca, you mentioned that each obstacle introduced you to new perspectives. When you faced a particularly tough problem, how did you approach it, and what strategies can our audience apply in their own lives?
Great question. My approach was to reframe obstacles as puzzles rather than roadblocks. For instance, when I lacked resources, I collaborated with peers, pooling our knowledge. This method mirrors the growth mindset concept by psychologist Carol Dweck, believing abilities can be developed through dedication and effort.
That's an insightful analogy. Many listeners struggle with asking for help or collaborating. Did you ever hesitate to reach out? And how did teamwork change your outcomes?
Initially, I hesitated, thinking independence meant strength. But real progress began when I embraced collective intelligence. A Stanford study shows teams solve problems 60% faster than individuals. In my case, working with others turned daunting challenges into manageable tasks.
Clearly, leveraging support networks is vital. As we transition, let's explore how you sustain motivation during long periods of effort. You've illustrated that struggle and teamwork are keys to growth. Still, maintaining motivation over years can be tough. Did you ever feel your inspiration wane? And how did you keep your spirit alive during those periods?
Absolutely, Adel. Inspiration can fade, especially after repeated setbacks. I made it a habit to revisit stories of great personality scientists like Marie Curie or inventors like Nikola Tesla. Their perseverance reminded me that every journey has its valleys, and recalling their stories recharged my determination.
That's a powerful strategy. Many people, as you mentioned, leave behind the very sources of inspiration that once fueled them. How can listeners ensure they keep these memories and lessons alive in their own daily lives?
One simple method is maintaining an inspiration journal. Every time you encounter an uplifting story or achieve a small victory, write it down. Research from the University of Texas shows that reflective journaling can boost motivation by 40%. It's about keeping those sparks close so they're available when you need them most.
That's such a practical tip. Now let's connect this to the next phase. Show your relationship with books played a central role in your self-discovery. Earlier, you described how books became your closest friends during childhood. Can you explain how engaging with books helped you solve real-life problems and shaped your thinking?
Of course. Books were my silent mentors. Whenever a question troubled me, I turned to books, much like seeking advice from a wise friend. The process of searching, reading, and reflecting not only provided answers, but also taught me critical thinking. Studies show that avid readers develop superior problem-solving skills and emotional intelligence.
That's compelling. Some listeners might struggle to connect reading with practical outcomes. Can you share a hypothetical scenario where turning to books could help someone today?
Certainly. Imagine a student anxious about a career decision. By exploring biographies or self-help books, they gain insights into others' journeys in diverse fields. This widens their perspective, much like how explorers used maps to navigate unknown lands. Books become the compass guiding them through uncertainty.
A beautiful analogy. As we draw to a close, Luca, could you summarize how these lessons struggle, collaboration, inspiration, and books combine to shape a successful, fulfilling life?
Absolutely. Together, these elements form a cycle. Struggle fosters growth, collaboration amplifies potential, inspiration sustains the journey, and books provide wisdom. Embracing all four transforms adversity into opportunity and learning into lifelong fulfillment.
Welcome to today's episode, where we tackle a challenge many face, the fear of speaking English. Mrs. Adele, what exactly creates this anxiety and why is it so persistent among learners?
Great question. The fear often stems from past negative experiences like being corrected harshly or laughed at. Linguists call this language apprehension. It's similar to stage fright, where the mind anticipates mistakes and embarrassment before even speaking.
That's fascinating. So it's not just about knowledge, but also emotional blocks. Are there studies quantifying how common this fear is?
Absolutely. According to a 2021 study by Cambridge University, about 70% of English learners globally report anxiety as their main barrier. This fear can even activate the fight or flight response, making communication harder.
Given this, creating a supportive environment seems crucial. Mr. Luca, how does encouragement from teachers or peers impact a learner's progress?
Support is transformative. When learners feel safe, their brains are more open to absorbing information. A 2019 Harvard study found that students in supportive classrooms improved language skills 40% faster than those in high-pressure settings.
So, positive feedback can literally accelerate learning. Could you share a real-world example of how this plays out?
Certainly. Take community English classes students who practice in pairs, correcting each other gently, often become fluent more quickly than those who only study alone.
Let's transition to practical strategies. Mrs. Adele, you advocate for integrating English into daily life. Why does this outpace traditional methods?
Routine exposure builds neural pathways. Think of it like muscle memory for the brain. Using English to label objects at home or narrate daily tasks helps cement vocabulary and grammar subconsciously.
Can you give a hypothetical scenario for beginners?
Imagine someone starts by saying, "I am brushing my teeth each morning in English." Over time, these simple sentences stack up, making spontaneous conversation much easier.
Mr. Luca, you often recommend starting with simple sentences. Why is this more effective than diving into complex grammar right away?
Simple sentences reduce cognitive load. It's like learning to walk before running. By mastering "I eat breakfast" or "it is raining," learners gain confidence, which then motivates them to tackle more difficult structures.
Are there studies supporting this incremental learning?
Yes, a 2020 British Council report found learners who focused on simple constructions first were 60% more likely to stick with their studies and eventually reach higher proficiency.
Inevitably, mistakes happen. Mrs. Adele, how should learners respond to errors to ensure progress doesn't stall?
Mistakes are not failures, they're stepping stones. Language acquisition researchers liken this to trial, and error in science each correction brings you closer to fluency. Embracing errors as feedback neutralizes fear.
Does this mindset shift have a measurable impact?
Definitely. The University of Toronto found that students who viewed mistakes positively improved their speaking skills by 35% more than those who feared them.
Let's talk about technology. Mr. Luca, how can digital tools support regular English practice for learners at home?
Apps like Duolingo or HelloTalk make daily practice accessible. They use spaced repetition and instant corrections, which simulate immersive environments. For many, this bridges the gap when real-life conversation partners aren't available.
Are there limitations to relying solely on apps?
Certainly, apps are best for building foundations, but real conversation requires unpredictability, so combining digital and human practice is ideal.
Beyond technology, social support is key. Mrs. Adele, how do group activities or language clubs boost motivation and retention?
Community creates accountability and fun. Studies show that learners in conversation groups are twice as likely to continue practicing long-term. The shared journey also reduces the stigma around making mistakes.
Can you recall a real case where community made a significant difference?
Absolutely. In my class, a shy student became a group leader within months, simply because her peers encouraged her to keep trying.
Some worry that adopting English might dilute their cultural identity. Mr. Luca, how do you address these concerns?
Learning English is like adding a new tool, not replacing your old ones. Multilingualism actually strengthens cultural pride. Studies show bilinguals have higher cross-cultural empathy and civic engagement.
So, embracing English can coexist with national loyalty?
Exactly. You can love your country and also connect with the world. In fact, sharing your culture in English promotes global understanding.
Let's move to progress tracking. Mrs. Adele, how can learners measure improvement without getting discouraged by slow gains?
Small wins matter. Keeping a language journal or recording short videos monthly helps visualize progress. Even understanding a movie scene or ordering food in English marks a significant milestone.
Why is this important for motivation?
Celebrating achievements, however minor, releases dopamine, a brain chemical tied to motivation, making learners more likely to persist.
As we wrap up, Mr. Luca, what's your key message for listeners still hesitant to start their English journey?
Don't let fear hold you back. With consistency, support, and the right mindset, anyone can improve. Remember, every expert was once a beginner. Adopt these strategies and you'll see real progress.
Thank you both. Listeners, stay alert, care for yourselves, and remember learning English is a journey worth taking for your future and your community.